Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
You can start with that.
Today I've got a very interesting film for everybody. One of the noticed trends that I have picked up on is we're now seeing a lot of movies about authors who have given us some very well-known pieces of literature. It started when I noticed a movie that unfortunately I didn't get a chance to see in theaters, which was called Rebel in the Rye, starring Nicholas Hoult, who played J.D. Salinger, and the creation of Catcher in the Rye. Right now, it's not in theaters near me at the moment, but there's Goodbye Christopher Robin, which is the story of A.A. Milne and his son, and of course, the inception of Winnie the Pooh. And later on this year, we're going to see a movie about Charles Dickens called The Man Who Invented Christmas, and the story of him creating A Christmas Carol. But now we've got this movie, Professor Marsden and the Wonder Women, which is directed by Angelina Robertson, starring Luke Evans, Rebecca Hall, and Bella Heathcote, and it's the story of Professor William Marsden, the man who wrote the famous comic book Wonder Woman, and the inspiration to do so. So I was very excited to see this movie because this is a movie about a comic book creator and not a comic book character. It takes place in the 1920s all the way into the 1940s, so we get to see a lot of very interesting moments in American history at the same time. This movie begins while Professor Marsden and his wife Elizabeth are teaching at Radcliffe College, which is a break-off of Harvard University, in the late 1920s, not so long after women finally got the right to vote. And what did Professor Marsden specialize in? He specialized in psychology, specifically teaching a lot of women about the mind and how it works, and more importantly, trying to promote ideas of early feminism, trying to let them know that they are just as powerful as the men in their world. But lo and behold, something interesting happens to him and his wife, and one of their students, whose name is Olive, is someone who's very interested in their work, practically idolizes them both, but there's a little something more that she's feeling towards them. And through some very unorthodox things that took place at the time, it all led up to the creation of Wonder Woman and Professor Marsden feeling that his studies and his teachings needed to be shared with the world, specifically at the youngest of ages. It had great potential to be something really good, but it kind of fell short at the end. I appreciated the production value. It was beautifully done, the costumes were wonderful, I loved the set pieces, and a fantastic score to go along with it by an unknown composer. I've never heard of Tom Howell. And of course you've also got some great acting. I thought that Luke Evans as Professor Marsden and Rebecca Hall as his wife were fantastic, and Bella Heathcote, who I'd only seen before in Dark Shadows, did a very good job as the young student Olive, who eventually would become a little something more to the two of them. You could probably tell I'm not trying to give many spoilers, but if you've seen the trailer, you know exactly what happens between these three people. And it's a very interesting story that captures a lot of Professor Marsden's life, including the fact that he was the one that created the lie detector, and how that was also a very big influence into the creation of the Wonder Woman comics. But throughout that movie, you also see him being interrogated about his comic, and that it is considered immoral, it's considered not appropriate for children, and that a lot of what he has taught in terms of dominance, in terms of submission, are things that you saw within the pages of the comic books, and they said, no, 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 you can't cater this to children. But you really don't get much of that throughout the film, especially during the first two-thirds. You really get more of what he and his wife are trying to accomplish in terms of their research with the mind, how they're trying to make their relationship better than it already has been. And all of a sudden, he is realizing that his secrets are being discovered, and all of a sudden, he and his wife and Olive are being considered outcasts because of their behavior. And so eventually, he realizes that one of his best outlets for the research and for his ways of life is to write them in the pages of comics. And when the whole concept of creating the Wonder Woman comic comes into play, everything suddenly gets lost and everything is all over the place. It really starts to lose focus at the very end of the film, and then some other events take place that are basically barely even built upon, and I'm basically looking at this movie saying, okay, we're not going to get any more of this? This is a kind of important moment. Why are we not touching on this a little bit more? But it didn't, and at the very end, did I find myself satisfied with the movie? Yes, I thought that it was a very different film, a very unique film, a film that plays upon some things that we don't necessarily see in film, and done in very good taste, but I feel that when you get to the end of the movie, you sort of wish that you got that really perfect package. And I also feel because of how the last third of the movie goes, we're not gonna see this movie really getting anything in terms of awards. Maybe we'll see production value for costume design or set design. If it ends up getting absolutely nothing, I wouldn't be surprised. It's a movie that if you're interested in something different, you should definitely see in theaters, but it's not a movie that I want to see again, nor is it a movie that I'm going to want to have on DVD or Blu-ray, but I will say that I'm just glad that I saw this movie because it was definitely something different to see. I'm going to give Professor Marsden and the Wonder Women 2.5 stars out of 4, so thank you very much for watching, everybody. Put your comments in the box below, and let's discuss this, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.